Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Fempreneur True Confessions podcast from a freezing Florida.
Yes, which is insane that it's freezing in Florida. Welcome. We're cold in Oklahoma too, but the fact that she's freezing in Florida is hilarious. Not hilarious.
I've got the heater is just not able to keep up. So it's somewhere around 60 degrees in the house. So we have all the lights on and the oven is on and the door of the oven is wide open.
Yeah.
Because our poor heater just we have central heat, but I guess it's an older unit and it just can't keep up. It got down in the 20s last night.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're not used to that there. So
No. I mean, it does happen. It does happen. The citrus needs a freeze here. But came home. We were out of town for the weekend, came back last night, and all the elephant ear were dead. And it was so sad. I was so sad because I love them and they're beautiful. But anyway, and it's cold there in Oklahoma too. And I know my kids are cold in Missouri.
Yeah. But we had such a mild winter, I really can't complain. I'm okay. Like it
hasn't really been that bad.
But
yeah.
And like we're coming from Colorado, it was like, okay, this is not really winter, so I'll take it. It's fine.
So that's why I'm wearing my granddaughter's stocking cap she made for me. And my friend Kitty left her fingerless gloves here on New Year's Eve. Thanks, Kitty. They've come in really handy.
They do.
Yeah.
So glad to have you all here. If you don't know who I am, I'm Laura, and I own a virtual assistant and a project management agency. And I know 2026 has started off with a bang. We're in February. It is already kind of insane. And I am embracing all the things. So, Angelique and I came together a few years ago, truly just wanting to support each other and support women and figure out what that looked like for us in business, because we didn't want corporate models of our business and those kinds of things. And I'm not going to knock it anymore. Everybody knows how I feel about corporate. But more so just really wanting to pull together and be there for women and have the things that we weren't modeling and seeing. And so I own an agency. Angelique owns an agency as well.
Yeah. And we
amazing women.
Sorry, you froze up. And I'm Angelique with Lady Powerhouse Solutions, project and event management. And so we were on this hot mess express and we weren't seeing anybody else on the train with us. We felt like it was just us. And, and we're looking, but where we're looking is social media, because that's where and you look on the internet for content about, oh, I'm struggling with this. And it wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided to create this podcast so that we could, one, model what it looks like when female entrepreneurs support each other. And we share the journey that is entrepreneurship, but specifically for women, because it can be very different for women from men as far as entrepreneurship goes. Often there are a lot of mompreneurs out there doing it by themselves, single moms, and just having a space for them to share their stories and share what we've learned, so we don't all have to go through it and we don't have to feel alone.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the things. So modeling that abundance over scarcity mindset, modeling collaboration over competition, and just showing what it looks like when female entrepreneurs don't buy into the pink slime and the competition model that corporate is out there slinging. So
right.
The majority of the time, it's a very patriarchal model. And so we wanted to show what it looks like when women do it.
I
We
think
do
we
it a
kind of
little
want to more feminize. I think for me was kind of that like women have been doing the thing for a very long time, but more in that masculine kind of feel. And I just didn't, So I love what's come around in the last few years and changed and what we've seen and all the growth and stuff. So
Yeah. And we're seeing that more women are following suit. There are other podcasts out there that are doing the same thing we're doing. And that is fantastic. We don't see it as competition. We see that as, yes, let's get another train that's speeding across the world talking about the same thing with the same passengers. Let's do it. Let's have more than one option. That's fantastic. So,
absolutely.
and having these amazing female entrepreneur guests. And today we have somebody who's coming back. We didn't get to finish talking to her. It was like, wait, it can't be over yet. We're not done. So Becky Whetstone is coming back to join us today, and we are super, super excited to have her back.
I couldn't be happier to be here.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for having me back.
Absolutely. We do have a short bio, and I know my connection keeps going in and out. Sorry, everyone. Arkansas native, author, and licensed. I want out. What to do when one of you wants to end your marriage and wants to end your marriage. Sorry, I was dealing with the dog. She also holds a PhD in marriage and family therapy from St. Mary's University. She's licensed since 2006 and is a professional counselor and LMFT in Arkansas and Texas. Born in El Dorado, Arkansas, she later lived in Little Rock as well as San Antonio for 26 years and then returned to Arkansas in 2011, opening her Little Rock practice in 2012. She now sees all clients via telehealth and works professionally under the name Becky Whetstone. Welcome in. Sorry, I really felt that.
I'm laughing because if anyone in Arkansas is listening, they know it's El Dorado because we're twangy people here in Arkansas. We pronounce everything just cockamamie. So
Right.
it's everywhere else it's called El Dorado. But even the Cadillac is El Dorado, but in Arkansas it's El Dorado.
I love it. I freaking love it. El Dorado.
It's great. It's kind of like our New Yorkers where they forget there's R's in words. They're all W's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we, down here in Florida, we've got a lot of New York transplants. And it's funny because it starts to rub off on you, the accents,
Oh, yeah. So no doubt. I remember I lived in San Antonio for many, many years. That's where I went to grad school. And my mom from Arkansas was in San Antonio one time, and her mother's maiden name was Vandiver. And one of the main boulevards in this part of San Antonio where I lived in was Vandiver. And she would go, "Oh, look, the street's Vandiver." And I go, "No, we call it Vandiver here." And this really made her mad. Like she was like, "It's Vandiver." In Arkansas, it's Vandiver.
Just like it's El Dorado.
Vandiver.
Yeah.
Just saying.
It's El Dorado and Vandiver.
That's right.
Love it. Well, the last time you were on the podcast, and I don't even remember. It's not been too long though, just a few months, and we just didn't get into. We talked about when mistakes become our magic, and so we had just kind of gotten into the meat of it, I think, and so I wanted to have you back and talk more about your story, and so we started talking about. You're a marriage therapist. And so what you decided to do is put yourself back out there as a marriage therapist that's been married 4 times, divorced 3 times, and removing the shame, right?
Absolutely. That's the whole reason I put it out there and highlighted it and bolded it was to make it go away. I think when you hide it, people think, well, why is she hiding it?
She must be ashamed of it.
And some people would go, well, I researched you and I found it'd be like a gotcha moment, And so I just thought, and I would say, like, if anyone knew my story, they wouldn't give me a hard time about it. But people don't know my story, so they jump to conclusions about what it means if you've been married 3 times. Now, when I was a kid, a woman who'd been divorced 1 time was considered a, let's just say, not a person of integrity. Like, they were thought of as less than, for sure.
Yeah.
And so I've been pleased that becoming divorced in our culture is not the shaming, life ruining thing that it used to be.
Mhm.
But now people put their shame on how many times you've been married.
Mhm.
People got to find something to demean their fellow human beings over. And so, and the whole reason I became a marriage therapist was because of those 3 marriages that failed, and I wanted to understand it. I'm a journalist. I'm a curious person. So I want to dig in and understand. It's part of my personality. And all I ever wanted to do was talk about relationships anyway. That's always been my passion. So, graduate school was a natural evolution for me as a writer about
Yeah.
relationships to go get those credentials and become a marriage therapist. And in that 5-year graduate school process, I was able to figure out all the mysteries of why I had that pattern of marrying guys that were not solid marriage mates, and understand my part in it. And once, and it's like when you can dig things out of your subconscious and bring them into the light, it sort of kills the power they have over you. So
Mhm.
when I finally realized what I had been doing, it changed everything for me and released me from it. But then I started in private practice, and people would do those gotcha things. Well, I did research on you and found, and I just thought, what am I going to do? Like, about this? Because I have a good message. I'm a good therapist. Am I not going to be able to have a career because I was married and divorced 3 times? So I decided, I realized that one thing I had noticed is, for many years, I would be in the grocery store line and see the National Enquirer or the Star sitting there, as I'm waiting to check out. And they would out famous people, and not just for not for being gay necessarily, or that they had a banking scandal or they had cheated on their spouse or something like that. And I noticed that these people who could afford expensive public relations people, if they got wind that the National Enquirer was about to do an expose on them, they would cut it off at the pass and announce it publicly themselves. And
Get ahead of it.
yeah. And so I thought, well, I think I'm going to do that myself over this. And so I wrote an article about the marriage therapist who has been married 4 times, counts her blessings, and presented it to the Huffington Post, and they published it, and it went viral. It went viral. But it told my story, and how it was those 3 marriages that made me stop myself and reflect, on my mistakes so I could correct them and prepare myself if I ever met another person, that I would be healthy enough to go the long haul with somebody.
Right.
Choose a
Right.
solid mate. I had to be solid myself. And then I could finally get to
Exactly.
experience this thing that I'd been wanting to experience all along, which was a
Mhm.
lifelong committed relationship.
Yeah. And I meant to kind of preface this conversation with this, like, what the fuck does this have to do with business? Like, what does this have to do with fempreneurship? I don't know about you, but relationships are the foundation of my business.
Mhm.
And the same concepts that we use in marriage relationships apply
Mhm.
to all relationships, business relationships, friendships. This idea that we have to have open communication
Mhm. Did
and
you find?
and
Oh,
Well, I was going to say, I created a career out of those terrible 3 marriages.
mhm,
I took the lessons learned and turned it into a career where I could write books about it, I could write articles about it, and I could be a therapist and make money that way. So it's like I kept having these train wrecks, and when you learn the lessons of your train wrecks, then that a lot of people have experiences like that, you know? And so I was hoping that me getting knocked down like I did and then finding a way back into creating the career of my dreams would be inspiring to somebody.
that's awesome.
So, people will say, you did, I don't know, if you robbed a bank, you can't ever be in finance, I guess. I don't know. Like, but I just think that we don't have to live in our shame stories. We can take those shame stories and make that lemonade out of the lemons with insight and taking ownership and just not accepting the shame.
And I love the way you flip the script on it, and it's you've taken the challenges that you've lived through, and you've made a successful career out of them in books. And I mean, if anybody, we'll drop the link in the show notes, but she has an entire page dedicated to all the articles and the podcasts and things that you have done and the press coverage that you've received, and it's impressive. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. Yeah, you when you go all in, Becky, yeah, go all in, don't you, hun?
You know, I told you that right now I'm in the process of writing a memoir about all of this, right? And one thing I can say about Becky, is she keeps going, and I get, I'm a person that finds a way, you know. Like I think a lot of life experiences and careers, I had enough work experiences before becoming a therapist that I learned many things, which was I don't want, my personality doesn't do well working with a corporation. I don't like having bosses who won't allow me to be creative and, do what I want to do. So I learned over time that I needed to prepare myself to be self-employed. I also was one of those people in the workplace that is a target for people for what maybe it's my personality,
You're light.
you know, it's I'm enthusiastic, and so I would always be gossiped about and there'd always be rumors about me. And I thought, what's the solution? The only solution for me is to be self-employed. So part of my going to graduate school and becoming a therapist was not only to learn about relationships, which I hungered for, but it was also to uh I can't even remember what my train of thought was. I got so curious.
gotta love
I love it when that happens.
it.
I had a
We
brain.
used to go back a little bit. Yeah. I'm sorry, my internet went in and out, and I was thinking about like when you said, with the marriages and stuff like that, and one connecting it into, your business. I think a lot of times we forget, we think, oh, well, somebody went to school or they did this, and that's where their credentials are, and we forget that our experiences, though it can be in shame, not necessarily. I think when and you talked about, back during the time, it's like, well, you get the one divorce and there's so much shame around it, and then another. I think the push then is that push to be married also creates that same problem. Or maybe if there wasn't that push in society to be with someone, a second marriage may not have happened, a third one, or it wouldn't have been that push or the rush into something wrong. I think we're pushed so quickly into the wrong thing trying to fulfill the status of norm, right? That we don't have the opportunity to be like, "Ooh, this isn't good. This isn't gonna work. No, this is gonna be bad." I already see the fail coming, but there's no time in being able to see the fail coming. Like you're kind of pushed into things. So I find it very interesting where we tend to shame people, but we also don't give them the time to grow from the shit that they're going through. Like, what the
No,
F?
you know, in Southern Arkansas, where I grew up, I had no career women role models. All my friends' moms were housewives.
Right.
And my dad used to tell me, you got to get married by the time you're 21 or
Oh,
you're a homemade, like that. And so, and a woman who didn't get married, the take on it was that she was undesired.
Yes.
That there was something wrong with you if you weren't married. So the pressure on me to get married was very strong. And my dad said I had to go to college because that's where I would meet the best men. Right. But they never cared about me having a career because a man was going to support me. So I was set up following this kind of pattern or template. And then I get into life and find out that I don't enjoy
that
being
template.
a housewife,
Right.
Yeah.
That's wow, that all right.
Right. That's not your jam. That's not your jam.
Right. But I feel like all that, it took me 10 years to break free, and from 20 to 30 to break free just from the idea that I could actually go out and be a career woman. But I think I was programmed that I would never make as much money as a man, that to have a decent middle class lifestyle, I would have to marry a man to help supplement whatever I was making. So I didn't have kind of I didn't believe in myself to be able to support myself in a good lifestyle until I was in my 40s. And, I just envy all the women now that they come into life like they've been shot out of a rocket, and they know their worth and their value. And it doesn't take them till they're 40 years old to realize I don't need a man to do well in life, So I think if I'd have had a trust fund or, had money, I might not have married as many times as I did. I think that was a huge factor right there.
Yeah.
I was raised by a single parent who, we had to survive. We had to do, so we saw that side of life where it wasn't necessarily where you had to marry and go do and be and that kind of thing. It was, we got this handled as women, so that was I always see that as the benefit. And everyone's like, what do you mean you were raised by a single parent? It was automatically, that was just tougher. So I've never worried about tougher. I learned more, I feel, in that, and I would have no idea what it would be like to be a housewife. I never had any real wishes to be one. I enjoy being home, but not being a housewife. Like, there's a difference between being home and being a housewife.
Well, I agree with you there.
But there's, so I love the different aspects of that, where you were really taught where this is what needed to be done, where I had a parent who was like, no, we went against every norm imaginable because of, and then we took it even one step further. My mother then got with a woman and was, now a lesbian 30 years into it, so it's just very funny how we went through that, and what your kids will see and what you'll go through and what your thoughts are about that. But I love it because I see all that as so much success for you and not failures in what you're doing. Those are experiences that are so necessary.
It's like, well, life's a classroom. And as I was saying, as I had all these work experiences, like I went into sales, I was good at it, but I hated it. So throw that off the list. And then I worked for the newspaper writing as a reporter. I loved that job. I loved it. But every now and then the editors would go, you can't write about that. We're not going to run that, and then of course I was gossiped about in just awful ways. So, okay, so this is my classroom. What is my takeaway? My takeaway is I want to write whatever I want, without an editor, without the corporation, without the gossip,
the censoring,
and so I decided to become an independent journalist after that. And when and go to grad school, become an independent writer, and don't have anybody telling me no. That is one of my takeaways of life is I hate being told no. So I have to organize my life around creating situations for myself where I have autonomy over what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think y'all, some people love the safety of the workplace, but no, I want to do what I want to do.
And I mean, we don't want to bash corporate necessarily. There are people, like you said, that thrive in that environment.
No, right. It's totally like there really is a job for everybody and everybody's personality. It's just that that atmosphere killed my soul.
Right.
But other people love it, and part of this whole thing is getting to know you
Yes.
and finding out what environment you thrive in.
Yeah. And it's like you said, taking the mistakes, so-called mistakes. And, honestly, it's just feedback, right? So that mistake or that failure is just information that you take and go, okay, that didn't work. Let's try something different. What's next? And finding the things that do work for us and creating the life from that, creating for instance, you created a career out of it. You created magic out of it. And so it started with 5 years at grad school. What happened after that?
After grad school, I mean, literally the day I got my PhD, my doctorate, I was like the 1st of June, 2006. And I literally got my license to practice that week. And so I was able to immediately put my shingle out and become a private practice therapist. I was a single mom. And, this was 2006. And believe it or not, the Yellow Pages were the main source still for people to find therapists back then. So I went to AT&T or whatever it was called, and took out an expensive, very nice Yellow Pages ad. And literally the month that it was published, my business went boom. Like it started going straight up and I became busy quickly and immediately. But then you have to pay attention when the Yellow Page thing was dying, and then to shift to how you're going to market yourself. But usually for a therapist, it takes about 3 years to get a booming practice, and you can use word of mouth, a lot of the time. But I used Google ads and stuff. And I just, they used to say you have to go knock on doors of doctors and stuff. I found that didn't work. I found that advertising was what worked. So, and I was spending more money on advertisements than I had. I just told the universe, if this ad's going to cost me $1,200 a month, you have to make sure I make that money next month so I can pay it.
Yes.
And it would do it. It would do it. It was so bizarre. It would give me what I paid in advertising plus, more so I could pay my bills. And I was going, so this is awesome.
Hey, this works.
Yeah, so this works. So I went into private practice, but I immediately started writing that book. I Think I Want Out, What to Do When One of You Wants to End Your Marriage. I started writing that in 2006. And it just came out a year ago in 2025. So it took me 19 years to get it published, because getting something published is one of the hardest things that a person could ever do. I walk in bookstores and libraries and I see all those books in there and I'm going like, how did y'all get that book published? Because it's so hard, but I had a voice in my head that said, keep trying, keep trying. So every few years I'd come back again and try. And finally, in like 2003, I was able to push through the wall and get that sucker published. So I feel relieved about it. It's like a divine voice just kept telling me, this has to be out there. You got to keep trying, keep doing it. It's going to, it's going to change.
And, by 2023, now I know in 2021, TikTok was gaining some speed. It was getting, and my nephew was on there. And TikTok pretty much saved my life. My nephew said, "And Angel, I want you to see my videos. Get on TikTok and see my videos." So I created an account and I started scrolling, and I started seeing content about narcissism and what it was and what it looked like and how it acted. And it was a big wake up call for me to realize not only was I in an abusive marriage, it was a toxic relationship. And I was near family, so I had the family support that I didn't have before. And but literally the education, the content that was on TikTok was a turning point. And it definitely helped me make decisions. But it wasn't. They would mention stuff like complex PTSD, and I'm like, "What's that?" And so I would Google it. I would go down the rabbit hole because I'm one of those people too that I will research the shit out of something. Do you know who Barbara Sher is? Have you heard of her?
No.
She's deceased now, but she wrote several books. But one of her books, I can't remember the name of it now. I can see the cover. It's yellow. I don't remember the name of it. But basically, I was struggling with, I would get bored with work. I would get bored with the job that I was doing because I would master it. And I would be like, and I would when I say master, I mean, I would create processes and systems that made my job so easy that I was literally sitting in my office with nothing to do because I had created such great systems and processes for doing all the things that my role did. And so then I would start looking for other things and, getting myself in trouble there. So, but she called them scanners. So people who tend to find one thing and really dig into it and research it and master it and then get bored with it and want to move on to the next thing. And so it helped me realize that's me, and that's okay. I'm not broken. But I forgot why I mentioned that now, but
good. You're just like me.
Yes, but there was a point to it. Oh, because right, our ADD. So I had it for a second, and then
well, I think what you were saying is that so many times we think, well, there's something wrong with us in here, but the truth is there's something right with you, and you were supposed to move on, right? I mean, you took the temptation initially to judge yourself harshly about it. Well, there must be something wrong with me, and I'm just telling people, I wish y'all would stop having that conversation with yourselves, that there's something wrong with you, and maybe look at where there's something right with you. For example, when I first went into the workplace and went into sales and tried various office jobs and I hated it, I told myself, well, maybe you just don't like to work, because you just can't wait to get out of here at the end of the day and look at, and you stay with a job for a year and then you leave it. And that was considered terrible on your resume, And I realized the reason I did work is because I wasn't doing what I liked.
Right.
That's the universe telling you this kind of job is not for you.
This is not what you're on.
You're not supposed to be doing this. Yeah. So it's like the navigation in your car. It's not even a mistake. You make the so-called mistake of missing the turnoff on the road, and the lady in your car doesn't go, well, shame on you for missing that exit. She just goes, reroute.
Recalibrate.
Let's go a different way.
Yep.
I think that's what life is we're supposed to be paying attention. And when we hate doing something or we're not satisfied, it's time to redirect. And you just keep doing that till something clicks in, because your intuition is going to tell you, hey, Becky, you might like this. Hey, Laura, you might like that. And so it's going to send you in the direction where your purpose is, if you listen. And then you just keep going until you something clicks and you go, oh my God.
We've been so conditioned to listen for that outward, that exterior validation, that validation to come from other people, that we've lost connection with ourself and our intuition, our higher self saying, nope, this is, and those redirects, right? That the universe will put into place to redirect us. And they hurt sometimes. They're harsh. They're very uncomfortable because you didn't listen to the nudges. You
But
ignored those.
listen, folks, if you get nothing else out of this
Right.
conversation, do not process those as failures.
Mm-mm.
Those are not failures. They're wins because you learned a little bit more about yourself.
That's the magic.
You
right?
know, yeah. And you know where, oh, I don't want to go back to work for a news. If I worked for a newspaper again, it would have to be as a 1090 person. You pay me X for my article, but I don't come to work there and you don't give me any benefit. I don't want to be in that. I don't want to be overseen in that way. So it's just like you just keep getting to know yourself. And that, I think really that's the purpose of life, is we're supposed to be paying attention because we know nothing about ourselves in the beginning. And these life experiences teach us more and more about ourselves. And by the time you're my age, you know yourself so well that you can keep yourself kind of in a wonderful groove most of the time, you know, because you know you, and you know what you'll enjoy and what you won't. So, you know.
All right. So graduate school, and then you get out and your practice takes off with the yellow pages, and then it shifts and you use Google Ads and you continue to grow. Where are we now?
Well, right now, okay, so I've been practicing for 20 years, but you must remember I think I finished graduate school when I was about 45. Okay, so most of the people I went to school with were 15 or 20 years younger than I was, you know. So I'm at retirement age now, and they're still, you know, in the prime of their career. However, I don't want to retire. I absolutely am ecstatic and excited about still doing therapy, but shifting more to an author and writer mode. That's, you know, I need to see clients enough to pay bills and stuff, but I really think my purpose is to write everything I've learned, whether it be a life experience or whether it be relationship skills or whatever it is, in blogs and in books and on Substack and on Medium, and just put as much information out there as I can to educate people about how to manage your life like a business and keep yourself in the black. Black meaning you're content, you have peace, you feel happy, whatever that is for you.
For you.
Yeah, for you. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm seeing less clients a week now than ever before, but it's the way, it's by design.
And so are you wanting to speak on the stage at all?
Sure.
Okay, because I think you'd be a fantastic speaker.
Yeah. I agree. I think you need to be on stage.
I would love to. I would absolutely love to. The one thing I haven't done that I should do, but I'm not going to do, is have a podcast like you guys. I prefer to let y'all set it up and do all the editing.
Yeah, let us do all the work.
And, you know, and all I have to do is show up here and talk about, and this is another lesson learned, y'all. I can't do it all. I see clients, I write all the time. I'm happy as a clam. And would I be good on a podcast? Yes, but I don't have time. I don't want, you know, I have to decide which things are most important and leave the other dreams sitting back there. And I'm okay if they never happen, you know, so I'm okay not having a podcast. The other thing I'm doing now that is a shift in my practice is I have found that in my marriage therapy, I'm sitting there most days teaching really intelligent, cool, successful people about basic relationship skills, because our culture doesn't teach us these things. So of course, we're all come out of there knowing nothing, and then our relationships start being terrible and we don't understand why.
Mhm.
So I'm teaching couples basic marriage and relationship skills, the things that you just have to know to be able to do it in a healthy way. And I'm going to start having classes for people where they can come, and it's going to be the basic marriage skills is going to be 1 hour a week for 4 weeks to learn the basics. And then if I can get it to catch on, then I will create this is the 101, I will create a part 2. But I just realized a lot of my clients could just attend my skills class
Mhm.
because that's what we're doing in therapy anyways. I'm having to teach them from the bottom up how to communicate, how to set boundaries, get your self-esteem where it needs to be, learn how to perceive people and what they're saying correctly and accurately, how not to control people and how not to let people control you, so that's another thing, is where I can help more people at one time in 1 hour, maybe have 20 in a class, and help more people, with while I'm aging and, needing to not work as much as I have in the past.
Yeah.
So just trying
And
to wind
so,
down to focus on only the things that I think where I'll be most effective and I
yeah.
enjoy it the most.
Mhm. And does your book, I think I want to get out, does it support that or work with it? How does it work with it?
Well, in my, as far as my book, see, my website is called marriagecrisismanager.com. And I felt after graduate school that I had to develop a specialization in marriage crisis because therapists are not trained in this. They don't know how to help couples in crisis. I had pulled up all this wonderful research on it that I knew would make a huge difference. So I kind of felt like I had to do that. I felt like no one's done it. Someone needs to provide help for couples in crisis and tell them what's going on, what you need to do now, and all that kind of stuff. So most of my clients now are in marriage crisis, or it could be an individual or a couple are in a marriage crisis, and I'm overseeing the marriage crisis so they don't make any mistakes.
Mhm.
And we try to gently, help nudge them along so they don't get stuck and toward a potential reconciliation or an amicable party.
Right. Mhm.
So my book is a complement to my specialization of being a marriage crisis manager. So yeah, I provide services for couples that no one else does that I know of.
Yeah. You've got
So
a niche, that's for
I
sure.
do, and that's why I'm trying to create classes too, because a lot of my coaching and stuff could be on YouTube.
Mhm. Yeah, and
I do
I
make
love
those videos and things.
I love that evolution of your business from being this almost an escape, right, from the situation, and spending those 5 years, and I feel like that 3 to 5 year number is what I've heard over and over again, where women are like, "I'm gonna focus on myself, take care of me,
Mhm.
um, getting healed, getting healthy,
Mhm.
getting well, however it looks for them." And then the evolution of the magic in your business of taking all of that lived experience
Mhm.
as well as an education. And some people like myself, I could go to college full time and I don't even care about all the letters behind my name. I just love to learn. Um, if I were independently wealthy, if I had a trust fund, that's all I would do is go to school all day.
You and
I,
me, you and me would do that. I am also a person who has developed a love of learning. I'm just curious. I want to know
all
more
the
and more.
time. Like, I want to know everything about everything. That's why my house was always filled with books because I was like, I'm going to read all these books. But, and then, writing the book, and then, you didn't get into it, but that book was written and sat there for how long? Not the first one, but the one that you're working on now.
20. You mean Congressman's Wife? That the one I'm writing, the memoir, has been sitting there for 23 years. And my husband and I, at our age, we're going through our things now, and getting rid of things and, going through our photographs and stuff. And that book I've had back in the day when I thought it was dangerous to release the book while he was still a congressman. I copied it off and put it in binders, and I had about 5 or 6 copies of it stored in secret hiding places all over the place. And as we're cleaning out our house, I keep running into it, and I keep running into it.
Mhm.
And then I sit down and I look at it and I go, this is good. I like this book. You know what? And he's not congressman anymore. I don't feel my life would be in danger at this point, but this story has so many life lessons in it. It is compelling. It is hilarious. It is heartbreaking. It's a, I just felt all of a sudden like a flame in my chest said, now is the time.
Now's the time.
So I'm looking back over each chapter that I wrote then and rewriting it from the perspective of a therapist now.
Ooh.
This is what Becky didn't know then that she knows.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is where I went wrong here, but I would not do that again.
Oh, so interesting.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what it was meant to be all along. So that it wasn't only not about timing, but about perspective, the paradigm shift that you've gone through over the past.
There's
2
no
decades.
doubt. And the other thing is back then, people loved to stereotype ex-wives, right? And the narrative back then was, oh, she's writing a book to destroy her husband, Well, he ain't a congressman anymore. He's 80 years old and he's retired. And so there's no person to destroy anymore,
Yeah.
So that stereotype or trope can't be put on me at this point. But I think that people will enjoy seeing an insider's look at how it is in Washington, because a lot of people want to say that the troubles we experience now in our culture are new. And when you read my book, you'll see all that stuff was going on back in 1997, 98, 99, when I was in Washington as a congressional spouse.
Mhm.
So, there's
well, I cannot wait to read it. And I don't like political writing. I don't typically read any of that type of, I love nonfiction, autobiographies, biographies, memoirs. I love those. So that's right up.
Well, tell everybody y'all, this one is juicy, juicy, juicy. And I am downloading, even though I'm planning on publishing it legitimately in about a year. I'm releasing it chapter by chapter right now on Substack, and I'm up to the 10th chapter and editing the 11th right now. It's getting close to the end. And I told my husband last night, I'm working on chapter 11. You aren't going to believe chapter 11. It is so filled with juice. It's unbelievable. And it's on The Congressman's Wife on Substack. That's what it's called. Congressman's Wife.
All right.
People used to go, why do you call it The Congressman's Wife? Because you wouldn't be interested in reading it if I didn't.
Well, Becky, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
And it has been really cool to hear it and hear how you came out of three divorces, education, and then your career path thus far. And I think it's interesting too that, we start out with this idea of what we want to do. And you write a book and it sits there and you're like, oh, that was a waste of time. Or maybe that was just cathartic, or maybe that was just therapy, self-therapy, right? To get that out onto the paper, to bleed onto the page. Maybe that's it too. And then to see the full evolution of it to come into print next year. And your business, the way it's evolved too, like from the yellow pages to Google ads and to doing strictly telehealth. And now moving more into being a thought leader in a really, really unique space. So I see a lot of speaking opportunities. I think you just make a fantastic speaker, and hearing your thoughts on creating workshops and classes and things like that. And so many times I think people are like me, I want it all. I want it all right now. I want the book, and I want the podcast, and I want to speak, and I want to do the online workshops. And it's like you said, you made a really good point. We aren't supposed to do it all at once.
Mhm.
And some of it, we're not even really, that's not our jam. That's
Right.
not our special, that's not where our magic is. And you found where your magic is. And I love that.
You know, life for me has been to see how far I can kick the can of life, you know, and I don't think I'll ever stop. I don't think I think I'd go crazy. I love creating. I love it. And so I'm going to keep doing it till they haul me out.
That's your magic. You're a creator. That's for sure. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we will see you next Monday, same time. We do have a special announcement next week. No guests, just me and Laura. And I think that was it. And Becky, be sure that we get that Substack link and all the goodness from you. And we'll be dropping that in the show notes in all the places. And you have a wonderful, I cannot wait to read it. I'm like going to be on Substack as soon as we get off of here.
So juicy, let me tell you. Like, I can't, some of the stuff I had forgotten, you know, which got, like, if any of you guys out there are having an interesting life, write down in a journal what's going on with you. Because if I had not written all this stuff down when it was fresh, I wouldn't have this mother load right now of juicy, wonderful details.
Yes.
So if you think you're a writer and you might like to write a book someday and a memoir, be writing this stuff down. So yeah, it's cracking me up, quite honestly. There are sad parts, but most of it is like, oh my God, I can't believe it.
That's awesome. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.